Hi guys, I'm Bri.
And I'm Alli. This is Offscript.
If you think about it, books are potential scripts for movies.
When this adaptation happens, typically it's disappointing because they went off script.
In this series, we will be talking about how off script they went.
All right.
Hello.
And welcome.
I'm Bri. We're never going to get our intro right.
No. I'm Alli.
And this is off script. We're way off script.
I'm Bri. Hello, I'm Bri. Okay. Yeah, we are very off script. Let's. I mean, we don't have a script. So can we be off script if we don't have a script?
Yeah, because we don't have a script.
So we're just off nothing then. We're not even on a script.
We're just off.
We're off. That's what it is.
Are you off or are you on?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys. Well, today we're doing All the Right Places.
Yeah.
It's season 4, episode 6.
Kicking off our Valentine's picks.
We are. And man, did you choose a great bunch.
Oh my God. I don't even... I just think it's hilarious because Alli was like, I'm so excited for us to do Valentine's books this year because you're dating someone. So you're going to have a different outlook.
Literally everyone. We'll get to it at the end when we do our
yeah.
preview. But it's
what's hilarious is I got to that and I was like, well, I got to the part in this book and I was like, oh, Allie's going to be sad.
It's like they're not one of our books.
Is very Valentine-like.
At all. Mm-hmm. We have this one, which is sad. We have the next one, which is a self-help book. We have the next one. Oh, what comes next?
Which is about people we hate at a wedding.
Oh, yeah. It's more of a sibling book. And then the next one is more of a father-daughter book. You did not choose a romantic love story for...
Hell yeah, I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
I chose a Nicholas Sparks book.
It was the father-daughter one of his series.
But I needed to give myself one that I thought I would like.
Did you? We'll turn it in and find out.
Turn it in?
Turn in is what I said. All right, you guys. Well, not only is this a Valentine's Day one, it comes out Valentine's Day week. Wait, does it?
Why, yes, it does.
It does.
It does because our mini-sode comes out.
The first.
It's kind of weird and wonky because we're mushing our seasons up. One of our Valentine's picks is going to be at the start of March.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Cool story, bro.
There's our picture.
Yes. So we want to do some trigger warnings. This book deals with suicide.
Yes, it does.
Major depression.
Yes, it does.
And domestic violence in some aspects.
Yes, it does.
So it's kind of
it's a heavy one.
It's very heavy. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So our synopsis is the story of Violet and Theodore, who meet and change each other's lives forever. As they struggle with emotional and physical scars from their past, they discover that even the smallest places and moments can mean something. We have our author, Jennifer Niven, I think.
Yep. Director,
Claire Scanlon.
That's funny. She directs The People We Hate at the Wedding.
Oh, does she? Cool. Did not remember that. Screenplay writers, Jennifer Niven and Liz Hannah. So the author wrote screenplay.
Let's see how she did.
Yes. And audiobook reader was Kirby Hayborn and she said her name and it was so pretty. Let's see if I can do it. Ariadne? I don't know. When the audiobook reader said it, I was like, it's a great name, but I've never heard it. And then I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to mess it up. Myers. And so you listened?
Yes, I did.
How do you think they did?
They did okay. At the start, it was kind of hard for me to pay close attention to what was going on until I got into the story more. Then I could focus. So
they didn't capture your attention.
Yeah.
Okay. I liked them. I mean, I've had worse.
Yeah.
The book came out January 6, 2015. The movie came out February 28th, 2020. Oh, man. This is a beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And it's all about depression and suicide. What a happy, hey, you're locked up for
you
2 years.
Watch this movie? But you don't know you're about to be locked up for 2 years.
Oh, my gosh. That's a 5-year difference.
Yes, it is.
Yikes. And which first?
I read it first.
I watched it first. Let's see how this goes.
Let's.
What were your initial thoughts of the plot?
I thought it was hilarious that I picked it for Valentine's book.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't fit Valentine's Day, but I would recommend it to a friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to give warning of
the depressing stuff.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
It's not really a happy ending at all.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I guess
kind of,
sort of. It has resolution and
yeah, it's just sad. Yeah.
So if you like sad books,
this is the one.
Suggest it. Yeah. Okay. And why'd we pick it?
So I thought it was a romance book, and it kind of is,
sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that a bunch of people in my reading group had read it and loved it. So I was like, oh, this one's got to be good. And they just made the movie, so it should be great. Then I read it. I was like, oh, this is going to be rough for Valentine's Day.
Yes. It's actually extremely depressing for Valentine's Day, if you think about it. Yep. Happy love day. Okay. So we got Allie's super fun facts. Okay. Elle Fanning, who I didn't even realize it was her, Dakota's sister.
Serious?
No, I didn't until your
wow.
TikTok video. You're like, she sounds just like Dakota. I'm like,
you're like, wait.
They are sisters. Anyways, she was cast as the lead 5 months prior to the release of the book.
Whoa.
So
she waited for this job for 6 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I found that shocking.
Yeah, that's insane.
Jennifer Naveen.
I think it's Niven.
I know it is. I said it right the last few times.
You did.
Dang it. Said in an interview she found inspiration to write the book after having the privilege of knowing and falling in love with a boy who had bipolar disorder and died from suicide.
Oh, that makes this even sadder.
I know. Did you listen to the author's note at the end of the audio book?
No.
Oh, it was actually a really good author's note. I usually don't listen to them, but I didn't download my next book yet. So I was like, I guess I'm listening to this. And it was like, so she said that in it. And she said a couple other things. And it was like, oh, that's kind of sweet.
Oh.
Like she said how it really is different. Like her grandfather, it was never confirmed. Great-grandfather confirmed suicide he died from, but everyone just, it was different. Oh. So it was like, at different funerals, people bring flowers and stuff, but at suicides, they don't bring flowers and they don't do stuff like this. So they try to avoid that word. And it's just so sad. Anyways.
Well, I've realized because a family friend of ours committed suicide. And for some reason at the funeral, that's what they focus on when they know that. Like even the pastor doing the service for it. And it's like, he was a person too. And that's the only thing that you're focusing in on.
That's so sad. Number 3, results from Jennifer Niven's fan vote poll cast their ideal Finch as number 1, Finn Argus. Number 2, Cole Sprouse. 3, Jonah Hauerking. 4, Asa
Butterfield.
What? Okay. I don't know who that is.
He plays Ender.
Oh, okay. 5, Timothy Chalamet. And I assume 6, Dale. I don't know who any of these people are except Cole Sprouse and Timothy Chalamet.
I know Cole, Asa, and Timothy.
Oh, cool.
I'm here for Timothy.
Literally all the fun facts on IMDb were like, this movie is based on a book. And in the book, this happens. And in the movie, this happens. I'm like, I can't put those as my fun facts. Thank you. So I had to get...
That's what our podcast is.
So my fun facts aren't the greatest this time. Number 4, near the end of the movie, Violet is browsing through the guest book at a church, and you'll see a special guest signed Mick Jagger from England.
Oh, cute.
I know, I missed it.
I did too.
And lastly, Elle Fanning's first feature film producer credit. So she produced it too.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. Those are my fun facts.
Sounds good.
Are we ready to get sad?
Let's get sad.
All right. So we kick off, and this book follows Finch and Violet. And so it like flips between narration.
Between the two. The movie does not do that.
No. So we start off with Finch, and he just woke up. And so with this meaning, it means like he was in a depression daze, like just
can't remember anything about what's happened for the last however long.
He was just gone. And so he's woke up. He's here now. But he's thinking about how much he wants to die. And so he's standing on the bell tower at school and he's about to jump. But then he notices there's a girl there with him.
Could you... Sorry, I got to interject here because all I could think was, how could you think to do that at a school where
especially the school
all of your colleagues would see you?
Yeah, and a school where kids hate you already. As, yeah, I don't know. I would have...
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was sad.
It was really sad. So this girl with him is Violet, and she's one of the more popular girls. So he's not really sure why she's up there. But he starts talking her down and saying, okay, this is, you know, they're having a little goofy conversation, but she's terrified. And so he starts explaining how to get off the ledge safely. And then she does the exact same thing to him because he's not moving. Then he goes into his guidance counselor. Oh, and while he's up there, all the kids are down below saying, jump, freak, jump. And it's like, I just like, my mouth dropped. I was like, are you serious? Like, I can't even imagine
having people tell you to.
Yes. Or
being someone who would say that.
Right. Or like knowing someone who would say, I would flip and go punch him. Oh my gosh. But anyway, so he goes down and he has to go meet with his counselor, Embry, or Embryo as he calls him. And he talks about how he's like, you can't die because I'm going to be in trouble. Like, I'm your guidance counselor. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a great way. You know, put it on.
Be like, if you do this, it's my fault.
Yes, and I'm in trouble. So don't get me in trouble. I'm like, that's how you help
that's
kids.
That's not how you help at all.
Oh my gosh. But he upped their meetings to 2 days a week. And we also find out that he missed 5 weeks of school before winter break. And we find out it's because of that was when he was in his asleep.
Not there. In the movie, this doesn't happen on a bell tower. So it didn't happen at school, so no one's talking about it. And Finch isn't the one that's starting on the ledge. Violet's just on the ledge. And he's like running by. And then he stops and sees her. And he's like, wait. And then he talks her down. And at this point, Finch also knows about her sister and what has happened with her sister. Whereas in the book, he did not know.
So I forgot that I was supposed to watch it first, right? So I listened to the first chapter and I was like, oh crap. So I stopped and I went and watched it. And then I'm like, I'm sitting there watching this part, right? Because she's about to jump and he's just on a run. He's not about to jump. I'm like, did I freaking listen to the book wrong? I had to go back. I restarted the book. I was like, oh, I listened to it right. And so, yes.
Yeah, it was very confusing. And then it almost makes the rest of the movie even more confusing because we don't get to be in Finch's head. So we don't know how sad he is. So then for future parts that happen, it's kind of like it comes out of the blue. Like, what just happened? Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I think the simple fact of if he was up there to jump too.
Yes. It would have
fixed the whole confusion.
Absolutely.
Bummer. Okie dokie. So now we're with Violet and she's with her guidance counselor and they're talking about how she's doing and she's not doing great. 9 months ago, her sister and her were in a car accident and her sister died. And she had a blog with her sister, but she doesn't touch it anymore. And she's planning on going to NYU because they're seniors, but she missed the deadline for enrollment. Oh, shoot. She's so sad about that. No, she's not because she purposely doesn't want to go anymore. And she goes back to class and she gets a note from her old boyfriend asking if she really saved Finch's life. Because now that's the rumor going around schools that she went up to save Finch.
So the rumor can't get started because this didn't happen at school. No one saw it. Mm-hmm. So how they start the drama in the movie is Finch starts asking around about Violet. And that's kind of how, like, why are you asking about Violet?
Mm-hmm. Violet comes late to class and she drops her stuff. And everybody's, typical high schoolers. She dropped her stuff. Because, that's comedy in high school. And Finch decides to make a scene by dropping his books and tipping his chair over. He fell down and so people start laughing at him instead. And this made Violet smile at him. And right there, that's all it took. Now he's like, oh my gosh, she smiled.
I'm into her.
She smiled at me. Their teacher shares that they're going to do a class assignment and they have to learn all about Indiana, where they live. And they have to go to at least 2 to 3 places and record about their great state. And immediately Finch is like, I want to work with Violet Markey. And she's mortified because she's, for the last year, been getting out of all assignments because of her grief. And she's pissed off because now she can't, because her teacher's like, yes, I think that's a great idea. And she's like, wait, I want to get out of it. And he's like, no, this will be good for you. And they go home and Finch starts looking up everything he can about Violet. And he found her blog and the news article about the crash. So this is when he finds out that Eleanor died, her sister. And he decided to create a Facebook account because he wants to friend request her and find out more, because he doesn't have Facebook and he never wanted it, but now he wants to get to know Violet. Mm-hmm. And so he goes downstairs, they have dinner with his little sister and his mom, and he go back upstairs and gets the friend request. And he's so excited. They start messaging each other. She's pissed at him, but they're messaging each other. And he's like, okay, nope, we're going to do this. But we can only use old school maps. And it's going to be fun. And then he starts to write a song.
So in the movie, my next note is that his layout is so much cooler than what it was in my head. In my head, it was just a regular square room. But in the movie, it's what do they call that?
It's like an attic almost, because it's slanted ceilings.
Mm-hmm. Isn't there a special word for that?
I don't know.
I think there is, and I can't think of it. But I liked that a lot. And then in the movie, Finch doesn't call Violet out for being his partner in class. He waits until after class to be like, hey, I really think we should be partners on this. Mm-hmm. Which is also almost ruins what happens in for story purposes. It makes more sense for him to do it in class. So then the teacher has to be like, yeah, you have to. Because then the next thing that happens in Violet comes to her mom and is like, my teacher's making me do this assignment and I don't want to. And then mom's like, I think it would be good for you. Mm-hmm. Rather than,
oh, you have someone who wants to do it with you. Yeah. You have to do it now.
Mm-hmm. And then in the movie, they talk on Instagram, not Facebook.
That's a whole 5-year difference, and Instagram is the new Facebook.
Oh, that's true. Good point. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's my guess.
The other difference here is rather than them doing instant messaging, they then end up just calling each other and talking to each other on the phone. Mm-hmm. Oh, and look, so he doesn't ask Violet to be his partner after class, like I just said. He does it. Now that they're talking on the phone, he's like, do you want to go somewhere? And she's like, no, it's the middle of the night. Then he shows up at her house and starts throwing rocks at her window. And so then she goes on a walk with him. And that's when he's like, hey, we should be partners for that assignment.
Okay. You jumped 3 ahead of me.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, then you can catch up.
Okay, I will. So Violet's parents tell her to go to a friend's sleepover, which turned out to be a party. And her friends are just talking to her about how crazy and dangerous Finch is. And people keep praising her and saving his life. And she's just a hero. And she goes to leave and she gets sick because the last time she was at a party was with Eleanor. And that's when she died. So this is major PTSD. And so she goes home and she's pissed at her parents for making her go. And she sees she was tagged in a video. And it's from Finch. And he wrote her a song. But in the end of the song, it says, if you reply to this, I know you're still alive. And so she immediately calls him and is or messages him and says, you need to take this down. And he did. And so they're chit-chatting. And this is when he says, hey, let's meet up. And she's like, no, it's late. I can't. But Finch didn't respond. And here he comes. He came over at 1:30 in the morning and they go on a walk. And they're talking about how she's suicidal and it's okay to say that. And she ended up going back home eventually after their talk or in their walk. And he went on a nighttime run and he passed the crash site and he found remnants of the crash still there, which is odd to me.
That's same.
It was 9 months ago.
Well, so he found it, but did say that like it was like embedded in the ground and like
dirt was on it.
Yeah, so he had to like dig it up. But yeah,
the license plate and stuff. Okay, because but the license plate, that seems like an important
like that would be
part of a car.
Yeah,
I don't know. Whatever.
It worked for the story.
It did. So Violet went back to her room and she got an email that her and Eleanor's domain was about to expire. But she said fine. She deleted the website and so sad.
I know. I was like, oh,
I know.
That doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope. So Finch has two sisters. One is a little sister and one is his older sister. And they have to go to their dad's house every Sunday. And his dad is basically super verbally abusive when they're there. And he has his new wife and his wife's kid who possibly could be his kid. I don't know. He was cheating on his mom, they think, but they aren't 100%. And they go home and him and Violet are chatting again. And she's like, oh, fine. I'll do this assignment with you, but I have some conditions. Like, we have to walk or bike everywhere and we can never travel in bad weather. And he's like, deal, fine.
So in the movie, Finch only has a sister, one sister.
His older sister.
Yeah, his older sister. And they don't ever go to their dad's house.
No.
Which I was sad about because some of those scenes were some of my favorites.
At his dad's?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Later on, the scene when Finch is talking to the kid and like the kid becomes, he wants to be Finch's friend.
Yeah.
And so I like their interactions together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I didn't like how his dad was an ass, but
Right. I was like, weirdo.
Like, how are those some of your favorites?
No, his dad is not in the movie at all.
No.
Okay. So Finch has different Finches. So he basically is like, well, this week I think I'm going to be 80s Finch. And he gets a new look. Or I'm going to be badass Finch and stuff like that. So now he's trying badass Finch. And he's shopping with Charlie and Brenda, who are his best friends. And someone at school thought he was from England. So he started speaking with a British accent. I wish I had that confidence.
Yeah, to just go with it.
Just go with it. And like everyone thinks you're weird, but whatever. It's like, you just have an accent at school now. Why not? So he tells Violet that they got to get working on their projects, but she won't skip school. She's like, no. And he's like, fine, just come meet me after school's over.
That doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope. So Violet goes out and she's looking for him. And Brenda and Charlie are like, hey, he's over there and you better not hurt him, Brenda says. And so.
Ironic.
I know. And so she goes over to Finch's house because she's like, I'm not getting in your car. And he's like, well, I forgot my bike. So they he drives and she rides to his house. And he has her come up to put her bag down and she sees Post-its all over the walls. And she asked what they were and he just replies with thoughts. And she also saw a scar on his side and asked what that was from. And he's like, well, I was in a band and we were at a bar and he cut me with his guitar pick because I was flirting with this girl and all this sort of stuff, which, seemed like a very
total lie.
Bogus lie. Yes. And so they ride their bikes to the new location of the tallest point in Indiana. And it's very underwhelming because it's literally just like a camping spot that's there.
Yep.
But Finch is being super flirty with her and they decided they have to leave something at every location that they go to. And so Finch also brought her a notebook and so she could document all their wanderings, even though she hated writing, but she did it. And they eventually head back home and she waits for him outside to get her bag because she's like, oh my gosh, I think he's getting the wrong impression. And she's like, I have a boyfriend, and he's like, relax, I don't like it like that. And she gets home and and she chats with her parents about her day and the project. And then she goes up to start looking at Finch's Facebook page and getting to know more about him.
So in the movie, they go to the tallest point in Indiana, but this has happened before Finch comes home and you find out about his one sister. And while they're there, they end up having a staring contest, which I was like, I guess that's how they're going to flirt in the movie. And then the rest of it kind of happens.
Yeah.
My next note is how close does Finch live in the movie? Because in the movie, he just keeps coming over in the middle of the night. And I'm like, are you walking like across town to get to her? Or is she 2 blocks away from you? Like, how far
My thoughts are like you and me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I assumed.
Yeah, like a couple blocks away from each other. Okay, but this book, I've never wanted to wander more than reading this book. Like, oh, you guys. So I have a Washington State bucket list, which now you have.
Yes, I do.
And it just has, is it 50? It's 50 different have to go to or experience things.
Yeah.
And so like, and they're fun. It's not like the Space Needle. It's like the Space Needle at night and like stuff like that. Oh my gosh. After reading every wandering spot they did, I was like, I wonder if there's one like down the street that I can do. Like, I just want to go do something. Oh my gosh. Anyways. Okay. Back to the story. So Finch was really excited to tell his mom what he did that day at the dinner table, which was very rare. And so she's like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? Then he goes up and he takes a bath and he's underwater for about 6 minutes. He's been like training himself to hold his breath. But he came up spluttering because he was holding it a little too long.
The bath happens, but his mom is also not in this movie. It's only his older sister.
Yep. Well, okay. So.
Wait, I just realized you didn't put in about him sending her Virginia Woolf quotes, huh?
I just put they chatted on.
A note that I've been waiting to say is...
So sorry.
So in the book, when they first start talking, Finch sends her Virginia Woolf quote because he can tell from his snooping that she's into Virginia Woolf. And so then she responds back to him with a Virginia Woolf quote and yada, yada. In the book, he Googles... In the book, he Googles it. And he's like trying to find it online. In the movie, he has Virginia Woolf books just chilling in his room. And I was like, that's odd. But okay.
That makes sense. Because I was like, because with you just saying that he researched and found out she liked Virginia Woolf, in my head, I was like, but I thought that he was reading it and that's why they talked about it. No. So that's just it. He was in the movie, but not the book. Okay. So Ryan, who is Violet's old boyfriend, asks Violet to go to the drive-in movies on Saturday, but she didn't know if she wanted to go. And Finch shows up late to class and he gives Violet a rock that says, it's your turn. It just says your turn. And I still don't get that. What does that mean?
Your turn to pick.
What they do?
Wandering.
Oh.
I think they found a rock at the first site that they liked or something. And so that's why he gave her a rock.
Oh, okay. So your turn to pick. Okay. That makes sense. So Violet gets a notification that there's an article about the top 14 suicidal kids in their school from the student paper. And Finch is number 1. Like, what a stupid
My question
article.
is what teacher allowed that to get printed?
Well, no, because later on we find out that the teachers found out about it and it got banned.
I forgot about that.
It's not it's a behind the scenes, but still, why would you?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the article wasn't written as a, hey, go help these people.
It was to poke fun at them. Yeah.
High schoolers suck.
Yes, they do.
All right. So she goes home and she finds out that someone called the house and wanted to do a news article on her because she saved a kid from the bell tower. Her parents are so proud and she's just mortified because she's worried they'll find out the truth. And she goes to bed and ends up messaging Finch. And eventually he asked her to meet him. But again, it was like 1:30. So she said she couldn't. And now he's not responding, which is Finch.
Yeah, that drives me crazy about him. But
or no does not mean no to him. Yes. Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the movie.
So Finch throws up, and he's throwing rocks at the window, but she doesn't answer.
You just said Finch throws up.
Shows up and throws rocks at the window. And she's not answering. And so
I wonder why.
Yeah, 1:30 in the morning. He goes home and makes a lot of different ways to stay awake, and one of them was Violet Markey.
And when she says stay awake, it means stay alive.
Oh, stay alive, awake. Yes, sorry.
He does make his list, but it's in sticky notes on his wall, and she is one of them.
Yep. I did not understand the sticky notes in the movie without reading the book.
Yeah. No, they're not explained at all.
I was trying to figure out the entire time. And
you're like, this is going to be the twist. This is what's they're
what
going to
is
tell
so
me.
special about these? And then they didn't even really tell us in here until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Like when he said there's thoughts, I was like, they're going to give me as much explanation as they did in the movie. But anyway, so Violet comes out and Finch is asleep on her yard. And she wakes him up and they ride bikes to school. And Finch is asking her about the accident, which she did not like that he asked her. And he's like, okay, I'll tell you the true story about how I got the scar. And it turns out his dad gets in moods and he ended up taking it out on him. And he said, I'll see you tomorrow for another wandering. And she's like, no, I can't. I'm already busy. And Violet went to the drive-in with Ryan, but ended up leaving early because she's just not ready to be in a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm. Finch does end up sleeping on her yard.
But her dad finds her.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember when that happens exactly in the movie. I think it's already happened, actually, in the movie. So that's pretty much all that happens from that little bit. Oh, and he tells her about the scar when they're swimming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so not yet.
Yeah. Has not happened.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the next day, Finch is at his Violet's house talking with her parents. Just like she wakes up and he's there. And she comes down mortified. And they go off to a new location and he convinces her to get in the car. And they
so this is exactly where we're at in the movie then.
Okay.
This is where he is asleep on the yard, but then the dad comes out and finds him and brings him in.
Oh, yeah.
And then she comes down and they go.
It's so funny. She's like, what are you doing? And the dad's like, there's a person asleep on my yard. Oh, gosh. So they go off to a new location. He convinces her to get in the car. They drove and she shared about the accident. And they got to a mobile bookstore and This
was the one that I would have loved to find. I was like, what is this?
It was cool. But wasn't this him planning it again?
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it her turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe that's why the your turn didn't make sense to me.
That probably makes... I think it was just he got
excited.
He got tired of waiting for her.
I don't blame him. I would have been too. I'd be like, come on, let's go. Adventure time. So she counted it as a spot, but he's like, no, this isn't a spot. It's like, this isn't a wander spot. And she wanted to count it because they only need 2. So now their project's done. And so he had her write everything. And we learned a cute little story from her that when she was a kid, her parents, they would make a book list and they would go to bookstore until they filled their entire book list. And I thought that was really cute.
That's what I wanted to do. I'm glad you said that. That was my favorite thing. I was like, oh, I want to do that with my family.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? And so you said that didn't happen.
Yeah. No, it does not happen. I would have loved to have seen that.
That would have been a cute one. Okay. So they go off and Finch is taking her to another wander place. And it's this giant wall that says "Before I Die" on it, and they're like blanks so people can write in. But all the spots are filled with chalk. And so Finch just writes dozens more "Before I Dies." And they fill them out. And Finch finishes with "Kiss Violet Markey." And she secretly wants him to. But he's like, don't worry, I don't like you like that though. And then they go to a bar and they dance.
In the movie, when he writes on the wall, first off, in the book, it's supposed to be this chalkboard wall. And I was like, that's such a cool wall to find. In the movie, it was basically a graffitied concrete wall. But
well, I mean, I guess it could have been a chalkboard wall.
It could have been. But to me, it looked more concrete.
Yeah.
But Finch writes, instead of "Kiss Violet," he writes that he wants to stay awake.
Right.
I was like, how are we getting your romance here?
And with someone who hasn't been following him throughout the movie, that was super confusing. I was like, what does that even mean?
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because I watched it first. I'm like, what does that even mean? Stay awake.
You're already awake.
Before I
kid.
die, I want to stay awake. Like, I just assumed it meant like you want to be present and see everything, which I mean, I guess is in the end what it is. But
in his sense too, it's he doesn't want to kill himself.
Right. Nope, that was confusing.
Yeah. And then they don't go to a bar.
No, and they only write one "Before I Die," not dozens like they do in the movie.
Yeah.
Or in the book, excuse me. Okay, so on their way home, they came up with epithets for people that they know. And Violet's asked why he wasn't at school Friday, and Finch says because he has headaches, which isn't a total lie. He then gets a message from his counselor, too, because he missed their Friday session because he wasn't there. And he goes to his room and contemplates hanging himself. I found this very interesting in the book. With every thought of suicide, it gave so many suicide facts. Mm-hmm. So it said, did you know this many people die from hanging themselves? And just what happens to the body. And it was interesting. So it was the same with jumping from a high place with the bell tower. And
yeah,
I found it interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
And so he had a flashback of when he was younger, and he spoke to a friend about how hurt he was feeling all the time. And he's like, maybe if I die, it'll stop hurting. And of course, the friend's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell my grown-ups about this is serious. And then it got back to his parents naturally. And his parents are like, stop lying and making stuff up. And right then and there, he's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What? If my kid was like, if I died, it would hurt or it would stop hurting. Immediately, I'm like, we need to get you into counseling. Please come talk to me about everything. Oh my gosh. I'd be finding every way to help them, not be like, okay, please stop lying to your friends.
Lying. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he felt the sleep coming, and smaller spaces help him. So he moved into his closet.
He doesn't really move into his closet as early as he does in the book.
Mm-mm.
He does end up moving into his closet, but not quite yet.
Yep. So Finch went and talked to Embryo, and he shared a bit about Violet and how happy she's making him, but he didn't say who she was. And he's like, just be careful, which put Finch in a spiral. And he's just sitting there like, oh my gosh, why would he say that? Why be careful about what? What's going to happen? Mm-hmm. And Finch then is running in between classes so that he can meet up with Violet and walk her to class. And she's slowly getting pissed because she's like, oh my gosh, people are noticing. And she's constantly looking around to see if they are. And this pisses Finch off. He's like, I like you better when it's just us. Because she's a different person with, oh my gosh, people are judging me versus I can be myself with him. Mm-hmm. And they both got detention because they're late to class.
That does not happen.
Nope. Okie dokie. So Violet hears rocks on her window again. And he eventually convinces her to come down. They then go to another bookstore. This bookstore his mom works at part-time. And they read Dr. Seuss. And they were goofing off and laughing. And it was just such a cute date. And then they went to the Panera Tower. Is that what it's called?
I can't remember.
Okay.
So sure.
Sorry, Indiana, if I'm wrong. And they started yelling off this tower things that they hated and to get off their chest. And Violet shares that she doesn't think she's a good writer anymore. And it was when Finch dropped her off for the night, he yells out loud for the whole street to hear, I think that Violet Markey is the best writer or such a great writer. And it was like, no, that was cute. At 5 a.m, 3 a.m, however late it is.
Yeah. This doesn't really happen, but they do yell just at the wall, the Before I Die wall.
Yep. So Finch and his sisters go to their dad's again, and he's nowhere to be seen, though. And Finch goes downstairs because he knows he's in the basement, or his dad's wife, I don't even know what you call her, says...
Stepmom?
I guess, but
she's not really a stepmom?
No, I guess technically Ashley would be a stepmom, huh? Mm-hmm. Says that he's down in the basement. So Finch goes down there. And Finch is like, we didn't come here to hang out with your new wife and your kid. We came here to hang out with you because we have to. And he stands in front of the TV, and this pisses his dad off. And he shoves him in the wall and smashes his head in the wall and all this sort of stuff. And so after dinner, Finch goes to a wander place by himself. And he drinks, I was confused at this part. He drinks this water or whatever that's supposed to almost get him high and in a rush, but it didn't get him the rush that he wanted or something like that. So he goes home and he thinks about killing himself with the car fumes. That was just an odd wandering moment. I didn't understand it very much. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to hang out with Decca, who's his little sister. And they're cutting all the bad parts out of stories because the good and the bad things shouldn't mix. She's so cute.
Mm-hmm. This doesn't happen, and Decca doesn't exist.
Yep. Violet begins working on a new blog, and she messages Finch but doesn't get a response. And this is because Finch spends several days in major depression, and he decides, you know what? Red is not a good color for my room. I need to paint the walls blue now. And he's hyper focused and has to paint them blue. Like, it described how he had to go over and over and over until it was perfect. Which, yes, red is not a calming color. Why would someone in that mental state have red walls anyways?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he does, but he doesn't paint it all the way blue, and he paints it
it's like just
over
one
the
spot.
sticky notes.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
that made no sense to me. I was like, why did you do that?
That made my OCD like
even worse.
Yes, because I was like, there is a sticky note right there, and it's poking through your paint.
This is horrible. Why are you doing this? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, there's a lot that doesn't happen in the movie from the book.
Are you sharing the things that don't happen? Oh, wait, I'm the book.
I don't know. Are you sharing the things?
Oh, my gosh. Okay. All right. So Violet hasn't heard from Finch for days now. And all of a sudden, he's there at school, though. And the fire alarm goes off, and she hears him from behind saying, meet me outside. So they go, she meets him outside. And they go to like this little river near the school, and he's like, there's an Asian crane here. It's probably the only one in America right now. And they made a bet on, what was it like whoever made a noise or scared the crane away would have to streak back to school.
Yeah.
And Finch broke a stick and scared the bird. And so Violet joked like, oh, I guess you have to strip now. Mm-hmm. And he did. And then he jumped in the water, and it was February and freezing. But they were just like laughing and having a good time. But who comes but Ryan and Romer? And Romer is a kid that Finch beat up or had a fight with last year. And he's one of the main kids that calls Finch a freak and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And so, sure enough, fight broke out, and Finch almost drowned Romer. But then, Violet's yelling at him, stop, and Finch ended up leaving, and Violet followed him home eventually, and Kate let her in, but Finch wouldn't open the door, so she went home, and Finch watched her go through the window.
In the movie, Ryan and Romer are one character, and this happens, but it's just a fist fight. He doesn't try and drown him.
So Finch almost called Embry for help, but his parents believed if you can't measure sickness with a thermometer, you're not sick. So he had that in his head, like, okay, no, I'm fine. I don't need to call him. I don't need to freak people out for no reason.
Which sucks, because actually you do need to.
So badly. Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
So Violet gets a talking to from her parents because they're very disappointed at her for skipping class. And they're starting to worry about her and Finch. Like, he seems kind of unsteady. And she talks with her mom about possibly starting a new magazine blog. And she isn't sure what she wants to do. And they come up with the name Germ because germ is like the start of something. So it's like all these starts of ideas. And so she goes to Eleanor's room for the first time, and she returns her glasses because this whole time she has these huge glasses on, and they were Eleanor's. So she wore Eleanor's glasses to feel closer to her, but I mean, she was getting headaches because they are not her prescription. So I don't know if that was the best thing that a sister could have worn from her sister. Like, think of all the clothes she could have worn.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was weird too. I was like, why is this what you're choosing?
I know.
This does not happen in the movie.
No. Does she even start a magazine?
I don't think so.
I don't think she did. No.
No.
Mm-mm.
No, it wasn't a big thing like it was in the book.
She does return Eleanor's glasses, though.
Yeah, she does.
But I think that's like end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So Finch was in her house again, talking to her parents. She wakes up and he's down there. And she's like, what the heck? What? Why? What? Because he wouldn't answer the door for her. Mm-hmm. So and now he's just there acting like everything's cool. And they're chatting about everything from the project to what he wants to do in life. And like they're getting to know him a little bit more. And he's like, I don't really make a plan for my life. I just live every day like I only have 2 days left. And they got all his contact info for like his mom and sister. But he lied and said that he doesn't see his dad anymore. And so...
Such a weird lie. But
yeah.
So this doesn't happen.
Okay. So they went on another wandering and they found a homemade roller coaster. And Violet was nervous at first, but Finch rode it like 5 times and then she went on it and she was loving it. And so she's writing down all this stuff on the way home. And Finch pulled the car over and he just starts kissing her. And they go a little farther, but she stops him and he realizes that she's a virgin and he hopes he didn't ruin anything. And he just goes home and he thinks how much he loves her.
This little roller coaster looked so fun.
It did. And it's like, those are the real people that run it.
Oh, really?
They were, yeah. In the cast, it said so-and-so and so-and-so played themselves. I'm like, who the heck? And I was like, oh, it had to have been the roller coaster people. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So this happens in the movie.
That would be a cool little wandering spot.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how popular they are now.
I know. I bet you they probably got way more popular.
Mm-hmm. All right. So they're in gym class and Charlie and Finch are hanging out on the baseball field because they're doing baseball. And they're talking about how Finch almost drowned Romer. And in the locker room, Romer then comes and beats up Finch pretty good. But Finch does not fight back. And his teacher comes out and he lets Finch go. And he had a talking to with Romer. He didn't fight back, which is not a Finch thing to do.
This does not happen in the movie.
Ryan tells Violet that he asked Suze out because she's too cool to be Susie. Or Susan, apparently. Mm-hmm. And he also let her know that Romer beat up Finch and Finch didn't even try to defend himself. At lunch, she went and sat with Finch's friends, but Finch wasn't there. She started learning all about Finch's friends, and Violet's trying to figure out what she and Finch are, and because sex is a serious thing to her, so she doesn't want to just go for it. And she gets a package in the mail at home, and it's from Finch, and it was goggles, and it said, "This is for the first warm day."
So, in the movie, I put that they have a very cute relationship in the movie. Because in the book, you get the whole Finch depression angle. Whereas in the movie, it's a very cute relationship that randomly Finch goes off and does his depression stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he does not get Violet goggles to go swim into the blue hole.
So it was a really cold winter, but they finally had a nice day and they went to the lake and it was the blue hole. So it is a bottomless pit hole in this lake. And they kept trying to see how far down they could swim. But Finch can hold his breath for a very long time. And so Violet was just surprised by that. So they went back up and they chatted for a bit and they hung out above water. And then he's like, I'm going to go back down. Do you want to come down? She's like, no, it's fine. And so he goes down and he goes down and down and down until he's like, oh, shoot, Violet's up there waiting for me. And he is like out of breath trying to swim as fast as he could to get
his vision's going black.
And he pops out and she is screaming and crying and yelling at him, and they have like this moment and they let all their emotions out, and he tells her the truth about how he got a scar. Oh, I guess he didn't tell him the truth earlier. Maybe he just gave a brief, like, my dad gets angry, but he must have went into detail right here. And he says, I'm not good for you because I'm going to break you. And she's like, everybody's broken. And then they have sex.
They go to the swimming hole.
No, they have sex at the, I'm pretty sure they go to like a train yard. And they're like in a little train caboose thing.
I don't remember that.
I think in the movie too, do they have sex on the Panera Tower, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Not in the movie, in the book.
Yeah, they start going around having sex all the time after they have sex once.
I know, but the first time was on the tower, right?
Oh yeah, it was. Weird. So they go and have sex in a train yard in the movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Romantic.
So romantic.
Okay. So Finch explains how wonderful he feels to Violet. Like they wake up next to each other and he's like, I just feel great. And they realize, oh my gosh, it's the morning. And they rush Violet home and her parents are pissed. Her dad says, say goodbye to Finch, like as in say goodbye forever type of thing. And they say that they called everybody to figure out where they were. This included Finch's mom, and she called his dad and all this sort of stuff. And they found out that Finch lied about not knowing his father. And they found out that Finch was the one who was on the bell tower. And like, you cannot see him anymore. Nope, he's bad news.
This does not happen in the movie. Her parents are upset, but they never called Finch's parents. My next note literally is Finch's parents, who are already non-existent in the book, are non-existent in the movie.
But then there's Finch, and he's going home because Violet's dad said, get out of here. And he sees his dad's car at his house. And he comes and beats up Finch, but Finch grabs his hand mid-punch, and he's like, you will not hit me again. And his dad's so shocked that he kind of just lets Finch go, and he goes to his room, and no one follows him. And he messages Violet, and he goes to see her the next day, but her parents won't let him in. And they goes home and continues to message her, and she says, I think they just need time. And he types, well, time is the one thing I don't have. But then he deletes it, and then he goes into survival mode, and he barricades himself in his closet.
So in the movie, this is when he paints his room blue, and it's because he's starting to freak out because he's like, oh, I just screwed up. Even though it's not even what happens in the book is way worse than what happens in the movie.
Right. I think it's a mix of I feel horrible and
I'm depressed.
Yeah. So Violet decides to kick off Germ and get some co-writers, and she and Finch are trying to figure out how they can hang out other than just school. Wait, no. Oh, no, not yet. Just kidding. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
Yes, you are.
She tells her parents that she's going to Amanda's house, and instead she goes to Finch's house. And they have sex again because, they're new high schoolers that just had sex for the first time. Well, I guess Finch isn't, but she is. And they talk about life and wandering, and Violet then eventually goes and tours NYU because she's going to go now.
This doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope. So Finch had dinner at his dad's house again, and his dad's in a good mood. He's like, you should bring Violet over here, and all this sort of stuff. And he's just getting irritated, but he's walking past, like he went to the bathroom, and he walks past the wife's son's bedroom, and it's huge, and he's getting really jealous, and he sees 2 wooden horses that were his horses, and he's just, the kid's like, yeah, they're okay, they're kind of boring, and he's just so pissed. He's like, those were mine. He didn't say that, he was thinking this. And that's when his dad's like, you should bring Violet over here sometime. And he tells his sisters, you know what, I gotta go, I'll meet you back at the house. And he drives and drives and drives, and finally he stops and he starts running. And he gets to this nursery that's closed, and he knocks on the house door, and he's like, I just need some flowers for my girlfriend. It's an emergency, please. And they end up giving him the flowers for free because they think it's so sweet what he's doing for his girl. If only they knew.
Yeah.
The man drove him back, and he drives to Violet, and she kisses him and thanks him for bringing her spring.
So he does get her flowers from this dude, but it happens with her. And it happens before they go to the swimming hole. Or right after.
No, she's not with him.
Oh, she's not? I thought that she was.
Oh, maybe it's something else, though. Is this when he showed up with his car full of violets?
Oh, you're right. He gets it to take her to the hole.
Yeah.
And he just opens the van, and he's like, look.
Because he was in a depressive state, and he was gone
for
days.
Yeah.
And she's freaking out, but he's like, flowers. And I'm like,
it makes it all better.
It would not for me, but it did for Violet. So whatever. Okay. Okay. Finch is in a complete daze at school. He's just out of it, and he's trying to make sense of life. He's in the sad mood. He has his meeting with Embry, and they start talking about bipolar, and he's like, you're not alone. And when he leaves, he walks past Romer, who calls him a freak, and Finch attacks him and says, you'll never call me a freak again.
Okay. I realized my notes on this and why, when you were first talking about the drowning, I had to jump forward. So the drowning with Romer does not happen in the movie, but this fight does happen. In the book, Violet's nowhere near the fight, but in the movie, she's there to stop the fight.
So they kind of combined the drowning and the fight into one.
Yeah. And like Finch is supposed to get super badly beat up in this fight. He does not get super badly beat up in this fight in the movie.
No. But what does happen is he gets expelled. And in the book, I guess he gets beat up in the book. That wasn't a very good segue.
No.
Okay.
But what does happen is he gets expelled.
In the book.
Jumping here.
Yeah. So Violet gets a phone call from him and he's like, hey, come to the car. Let's go do a wander. And she's like, what? Because it's like during the school day. And he's like, come on. And, we're going to go to the state border. Then we'll be in 2 places at once. And she's like, it's 4 hours away and it's a Tuesday. No, we're not going. We can do it on the weekend. And he's like, whatever. And he hangs up. And he goes to the wander place by himself. But it turns out the house that he wanted to go to is no longer there, which puts him over the edge. And he ends up taking a bunch of his mom's sleeping pills. When he starts getting drowsy, he realizes what he did. And he takes himself to the ER and they pump his stomach, which I thought was really awesome of him. Like to realize, oh my gosh, instead of just be like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
I know that
He has fight in him.
Yeah. Sadly.
I know. And
I say sad. That sounded bad. That's not what I meant.
Sadly for how the story turns out.
Yes. There we go. That's what it meant.
He leaves before they can put him in a psychiatric ward hospital, but he does look up a suicide support group for teenagers and he goes. But Amanda from school, who was Violet's friend, shows up and turns out she's bulimic and she has tried to kill herself twice. And when they leave, Amanda's like, you better not tell anybody that I'm here. And he's like, I'm expelled, so...
Can't tell anyone.
Yes. And she's like, now you know that you're not the only freak.
So in the movie, Embryo is who tells Finch about the support group. So he's gone a while ago. It was way earlier in my notes. Mm-hmm. And I liked the support group's name in the book. It was Life is a Life. But in the movie, they changed it to Fresh Approach, which I bet they probably did that because I bet Fresh Approach is probably a real group. Maybe.
Or Life is a Life is a real group.
Oh, and they couldn't put it in the movie. That's possible. I don't know. But I was sad about that. And then Finch does not try to commit suicide, so he doesn't go to the hospital. But instead, he does go to the support group right now, which is kind of funny because, like, the whole reason he goes is he realizes that he's in a bad spot, and then the rest of it happens.
So Violet asks her mom if she can drive to Shelby's house, her friend. And her mom is stunned because Violet doesn't drive, but she's so excited. She's like, yes, here. And she's like sobbing because she's so proud of Violet. And she's like, oh no, I feel guilty. Because she goes to Finch's, not Shelby's house. And his room's completely empty. Like the sheets are off the bed and everything. But they start to write on Post-it notes together. And he said all the positive ones go up on the wall and all the negative ones get torn up. And so there's my explanation that I've been waiting for about the Post-it notes.
Doesn't happen in the movie.
Nope.
And took forever to get to in the book.
Yep. So they have sex and he writes her a song using all the Post-it notes. And she's like, you got to write this down. And he's like, no, I don't write my songs down. And he tells her about the dark days and how it all started because a cardinal started flying into the window and his parents wouldn't help it. And so it died, and that's like when his depression started. And then for the next 10 days, it says Finch is just in pieces and barely hanging on.
That was such a sad chapter for me because I realized what was about to happen. I was like, oh no, kid.
Yep.
Hold on. But in the movie, like we've already mentioned, nothing really causes his downward spiral, so it just kind of comes on. And when Violet comes to hang out with him with the sticky notes, he gets very angry at her and yells at her and tells her to go.
So Amanda told Violet about Finch and the support group and that he took a bunch of pills and all this sort of stuff. So much for confidentiality, right?
Yeah.
But I guess
when what's happening is happening.
Yes. Need be. Yes. So Violet went to Finch's house, but he wouldn't answer. She got a message from him. So she went home and she's like freaking out a bit, right? She gets a message from him saying, hey, it's my birthday tomorrow. Come over at 6 and be hungry. And so she does. and Violet went over and he had this whole starry galaxy closet type of thing. And they were having a great time and sharing all sorts of stuff. Like Finch started sharing about the scientist that walked into a black hole. And he's like, that would be the coolest way to die because like you're just, no one knows what happened to you. Mm-hmm. And this is what Violet brings up how she knows about support group. And he gets very defensive. And she's like, I just want to help. And he's like, you can't help because you can't help me just because you couldn't help Eleanor. And like, it was like a low blow almost. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, fine. And she left. And she immediately told her parents because she's so worried. And they called his mom and the counselors. And Finch wasn't answering and he was nowhere to be found.
So in the movie, her friend does not tell about the support group until after Finch has died. I just realized I was about to spoil it. I was like, oh.
Yes, you did.
So that's the main difference in what you said. And the fact that she doesn't go and tell her parents about him.
So Violet's getting really frustrated because no one seems to care that Finch is gone. They're like, oh, he does this. And she's like, well, haven't you ever asked why does he do this? And even his own mom says it's fine. And he has responded to her a couple times, but he goes radio silent weeks on end. Yeah. And so Violet basically just had to move on because it's been weeks without hearing from him. And she sort of started dating Ryan again, but and her family decided they went to the spot where Eleanor died on her 1-year mark. And she finally decided to kick off Germ.
That does not happen. Well, she does talk to his friends and is like, why aren't you guys caring about this? But other than that, nothing happens.
Yep. Well, Kate went and found Violet and she showed her an email that he sent. And she's like, he always sends us emails on Saturday. And this was a couple days late. And it's really weird. And it's not like the other ones. And it's super cryptic. And it almost is like poetic type of thing. And it's giving clues and such. And she goes home and checks her email. And he sent her a message too. And it was also like that. And Brenda and Charlie got messages that were weird. And so Violet is starting to freak out a little bit. And so she goes back to Finch's house. And she goes up to his room and takes sticky notes down and starts rearranging them. And she realizes the message in her email is different wandering spots. And no, it's not. Just kidding. She realizes that he's leading her somewhere with water, which was one of their wandering spots. That's what I was trying to say. So she tells Mrs. Finch, like, hey, I can tell you where to go. And Mrs. Finch is like, no, can you please go? I can't imagine what I might see. So let me put that on you, kid.
Yeah, you child. The girlfriend who has been sad this whole time.
I'm like, I don't know. If I even had an inkling or a hint where Riley or Tyler might be, I'd be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this mom.
Yeah. Yep. In the movie, it's Violet's dad who tells her where to go find Finch.
That's right.
Which is like, how the hell do you know? But okay.
So odd. Okay. So Violet knew exactly where to go. And she went to the lake. And sure enough, she sees his car and his clothes. And she dived into the water. She was calling for him, Marco, Marco. No Polo was being called back. And eventually the fire department came and she was asked to identify the body. And she was in denial. She was like, nope, that's not him. That can't be him because he's alive. That can't be him. But she called his mom and let her know.
That happened.
Her parents are pissed at his mom.
Well, actually, I should say she calls his sister.
Yes. Her parents are pissed because they're like, what type of mom is going to make my daughter do this? And the funeral happened, but no one mentioned suicide. They all claimed it was an accident, and that pissed her off. And she was pissed that his family was there crying and pissed that kids at school are crying when they did this to him. She goes back to school and there's like all these kids mourning and they blew up a big picture of him. They were writing nice messages and she was just like, I would be pissed too.
Yeah, for sure. You're who drove him to this point, guys.
Yes, seriously. So the students were required to meet with school counselors, and Violet met with Finch's. And the school was doing lots of things to help students get through this hard time, like different assemblies and positive speakers and all this sort of stuff. And she spoke to Amanda about what she felt like when she wanted to commit suicide. And she was told that she could turn in whatever she wanted from the wandering assignment. I realize you guys, you just got to follow me. I'm jumping not in one conversation here. So she's talking to Amanda. Now she's talking to the teacher. And now she's going home. And follow along.
Keep up.
And she's going through old Facebook messages and their wandering notebook. And because she's like, I don't have a bunch of stuff to turn in. Like, what am I supposed to turn in?
Mm-hmm.
But she found the wandering map. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to go finish what we started. Because Finch marked everywhere they wanted to go on the map. So she knew where they were supposed to go.
This doesn't happen in the movie.
So and she figured out where she was supposed to go based on the email he sent her. So it'll have cryptic little messages. And she's like, oh, I'm supposed to go here first. And it was to this shoe tree. And she left a pair of her and Eleanor's shoes there. And she saw Finch's shoes. And and this is when she realizes that many of the messages are different locations.
Mm-hmm.
And so she also went to the largest ball of paint. The way it works is you write a message and then you paint over your message so it gets bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. And she's so sad because she wanted to know what he wrote. But the guy was like, okay, now you got to sign that you were here. And she found Finch's name and he had wrote the message in the signature book. So she knew what he said. And she goes home and she spoke to her parents about how she needs to talk about Eleanor and Finch so that she doesn't forget them. And I can't remember if this is where she told her parents that she almost committed suicide or if it was before Finch did.
It was before Finch did.
Okay. So she had admitted to her parents that.
Because she was worried about Finch. And so she wanted them to know, like, hey, I was in this boat. And now Finch needs me.
Oh, yeah. That's when she was like, you need to help him. And that's what made them call his parents and everything. That's right.
Mm-hmm. So in the movie, there's no ball of paint. But Finch and Violet go to the shoe tree together.
That's
way
okay.
Earlier.
That's what I thought. When I was like,
that's one of my notes.
Remember.
I've been sitting here waiting for before I flipped to my last page, and I was like, that's at the end because she's supposed to go alone, so might as well.
Okay. I was like, did I remember? He was there.
He was.
Okay. So another spot was Violet went to this old abandoned drive-in movie theater, and on the big screen was a bunch of signatures, and she sees from Finch, I was here. So that was another. I love that she's going to find him in every spot. Yeah. It was so cute. Last, she went to a monastery church, and she because she's continuing to leave something at every spot because that's what they agreed to do. She left a ring from Eleanor, and she grabbed the rock, and it was Finch's "Your Turn" rock. And when she was exploring the church, the monk brought her to the shrine area, and there was this room full of stars or lights that looked like stars. And the monk called it the ultraviolet apocalypse room. I was like,
because Finch's nickname for her was ultraviolet.
Yep. Ultraviolet remarkable. And Brenda, Charlie, Amanda, Ryan, and Violet all met at the Panera Tower, and they lit candles and shared memories of Finch, and they danced, and they just had a nice little funeral for themselves there. And then there was one more place to wander, but it wasn't a place that they chose together, so it was a brand new place. Where could it have been?
Who knows? This doesn't happen in the movie.
None of this that I have shared does.
No, I guess I'll just say my last note that I have because I don't even think you're talking about it. One of the things with Violet is her parents are upset at how Finch's parents handled their kids' depression and all of that. And they're like, I can't believe that. And that doesn't happen in the movie because, well, they're not in the movie. So they can't be like, wow, I can't believe his parents never did this.
All right, I'll finish it off then.
Yeah.
Violet went to the last wandering spot and she couldn't figure out what she was supposed to do because it's just this town. And she looks up what this town is known for, and it's known for their churches. And finally, she found this church that was created for those who died in car accidents or that were weary travelers that passed on. And so she went in and she saw a message, like an envelope, sticking out of one of the Bibles. And it said, Ultraviolet Remarkable on it. And she read it, and it was lyrics to a song that Finch wrote, which is big because he doesn't write down his songs. And then it also had the sheet music. And, the song was all about her and how unique she made Finch feel. And she went home and she played the song on her flute so that she could be singing it for days. And then Violet went back swimming in the lake, and she came up with different epithets for Finch.
The end.
The end. Oh,
all right.
So IMDb cast 37 people.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was waiting for you to read the names. We have Elle Fanning as Violet.
She did good.
She was cute, Violet. Yep.
Yeah, I liked her.
I did too. Justice Smith is Finch.
I love him.
I do.
He's such a good actor.
You didn't like him for Finch?
What makes you think that?
You're like, I love him. He's such a good actor. It seemed very hesitant.
No, I was being serious.
Okay. I was like, no, don't hate him. I loved him. Oh, yes. No, I do. He's, when I saw he was in it, I was like, I think he's one of my new favorites. Like,
yeah,
he's good in everything.
I agree.
Yep. We got Luke Wilson as Violet's dad.
Oh, he's did so good. I love him.
Yes.
So much.
Kelly O'Hara is Cheryl, who is Violet's mom.
She did good.
Yeah, I think so too.
She worked.
Okay. And then Keegan Michael Key played Embry.
He was hilarious. I wish he was in it more.
I know, but he was like perfect because he was hilarious, but he was serious and sympathetic, and he seemed like a counselor. Like he didn't seem like his normal
jokester self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did very good.
I liked it. Is the theme of the book and the movie the same?
Yeah. Depression and suicide, and
I mean, I guess
that's
I feel
the
like
theme.
Yeah, good point. I guess I was just
going to
say
nitpicky theme.
Well, because we don't follow Finch, so we don't really totally have the depression up until the very end.
Oh, so it's more of a love story in the movie and more of the depression in the book.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that.
That's what I would say.
I could see that. Yep. Do the characters stay true? I mean, if you go with the same thought process, we just don't know Finch's backside.
Exactly.
So, but yes.
So, yes, no. Yeah. Which do you prefer?
This was really hard, actually.
What's funny is same, but mine's because I was not a fan of this story.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't suggest it? Didn't you?
I didn't want to spoil it.
So you lied to our listeners? You can't lie to the listeners.
I just agreed with you. I didn't say, yes, I would.
I don't know about that.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So for me, it's hard because I'm like, I guess I would have to go movie.
I'm actually shocked you didn't like this.
I know. You would think I would, right? Because it's very relatable.
It really reminded me a lot of
Perks.
Yes.
Really?
Just like the feel of it. I was like, oh, Bri's going to love this book. That shocks me.
Yeah. I think it was just a little too real, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, as someone who has gone through days like this, I don't he never has a silver lining. He's just always depressed. Whereas Charlie in Perks is depressed, but he has ways to get out of it.
Finch's was Violet, but I see what you're saying. Like when he got in his dark days, even Violet couldn't help him. Well, I liked it.
Yeah. But
I really liked all the itty bitty details and things in the book, but I think movie I pick overall. I think the reason why is because we follow Violet.
Yeah.
Finch is more like, I wanted Finch to be my best friend.
Yeah.
Like, he seemed like the life of the party while being down to earth. And like, you didn't see it again until into the movie.
Yeah.
And whereas he had the same personality in the book, but you had that cloud of sadness. So masking it. So I think I preferred I just liked Finch in the movie more.
Yep.
Isn't that sad? That's actually really sad.
That's
I feel
very sad.
I feel horrible.
You were depressed in the book. I did not like you.
That's not what I'm saying. Oh no, gosh. I just don't like depressing. That's why I didn't like but why did it see? Maybe that's I don't know, because I like this story. I don't know, you guys. I don't know.
Well, hopefully that didn't make you want to give us a 1-star rating.
Bri lying at the beginning and me being nasty over here.
Hey, I didn't want to blow
Well,
how I felt.
You should say what I said in the next week's episode. Like, I can't tell you yet. You got to wait till the end.
That's true. But then if we just keep doing that, they're going to know what we mean.
Not necessarily.
True.
It could mean either way.
True.
I don't know. You guys, we complicated it ourselves by saying our thoughts at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay, you guys, rate, subscribe, and review.
We would appreciate it.
Yes. Wednesday, we got a mini-sode for you.
Yes, we do.
What's it going to be about? I feel like this needs to be a mental health check-in.
Actually, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, it'll be a mental health check. Watch, it's going to get to that week and we're going to forget. Oh, wait, that's literally next week. Never mind.
Literally next week, yes.
Whoops. But Monday, we've got the people we hate at the wedding for you.
Yes, our sibling Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It's book
revolves around a wedding, so there's some romance for you.
I guess so.
Yeah.
There's a sprinkle of romance and everything. But it's a good, that's a fun one.
It is.
Come take a listen.
Yeah. And with that, all the bright places
went off script.
Bye.
Thanks for sticking with us.
We hope you enjoyed it.
If you did, we would greatly appreciate it if you gave us 5 beautiful stars, reviewed, and subscribed.
You can also follow us on Facebook at Offscript, on Instagram at Offscript Podcast 21, and on TikTok at Offscript_pod.
Shoutouts to Madame Ashen Creations for our adorable logo art.
And Adam Daniel for our incredible theme song.
And to Creative Cinephile Productions for producing our podcast.
See you next time.